We hit start. Hello. Welcome back to the Level 1 News. Today's January 26th, 2021, and today we are doing social and business. No. Yes, business, because we already did government.
Ryan's hot because his heater exploded.
Yeah. So we're back. This is also a pretty long section, so strap in. We're going to start with social.
Sounds like a steel mill, he said. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
All right, our first story.
Hope they fixed it. A Pakistani woman was given the death sentence for sending blasphemous messages on WhatsApp and Facebook.
Yeah, so Mark Zuckerberg's responsible for another death.
Well, according to the article, the woman probably won't be killed, but vigilante justice is such that she'll probably be stoned by people while waiting for a full sentence. And I was like, oh, that's worse.
Again, yeah.
Yeah.
So the warrant, yeah, is still subject to confirmation of the high court, but
her defense wasn't great. I mean, it's BS that she has to defend anything at all, but I guess some guy was talking to her and basically somehow managed to convince her to say something against Muhammad. I think you're not allowed to say that kind of stuff in Pakistan, and here we are. There's a record of that message somewhere.
Yeah, definitely worth murdering somebody over.
A sad story to start. This one's also kind of sad, but maybe in a different way. In China, you can go to college to become a social media influencer, and look at all the people with their selfie sticks.
Oh Lord, just please no.
That seems strange coming from China, because China seems like it's really competitive academically. Like, they don't seem to have a lot of the nonsense stuff that we have here. But I guess this is a thing. Do you think the state will step in and say no?
Yes, eventually they're going to.
Yeah. Because they did that with video games.
If they're worried about video games, then this is even worse.
They also banned, what was it, mukbang? Mukbang? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah, well, just even you couldn't even stream to Twitch, eating a banana. That's too suggestive.
So I mean, how are you supposed to make money as an influencer in China?
Speaking of influencing and things that are just disastrous for society.
I hate this. Bring in the clones. Instagrammers are genetically replicating their pets. And the sad thing about this article isn't so much the cloning itself, but more just the example they talk about was this woman who has a dog, and her dog is Instagram famous. Her dog unfortunately passes away, and she gets it cloned immediately and continues the account, which makes it seem more like it's a business decision than a I miss my pet decision.
Her striking wolf-dog hybrid.
And it's the same, not the same, but it's a cloned dog. Like, you would never know that something happened to the first one because all the images look the same. And apparently that's pretty common.
I like the giant ethical
concerns. Yeah.
It's like blink, blink, blink.
Oh, blink is depreciated in Firefox, so... I don't know. I something about that feels dystopian to me. I don't think I would ever get Rue or our cat Cricket cloned.
Yeah, we talked on the stream about that before, is because the chat always asks if Ryan will clone his cats, and he's just like, no.
No, like when they're gone, you get a new one. You get a new personality, fresh start.
No. Speaking of humans being awful,
YouTuber accused of crashing a plane for views. Now the feds are investigating.
It'll take probably about a year, maybe 2.
Yeah.
But this guy, he was flying this plane, and then he's like, oops, the engine stopped working. A good thing I've got a parachute. I always carry a parachute. And so he parachuted out.
My favorite thing about the internet is that people immediately called him on it. And it's people who are apparently aviation experts, and there are all these videos calling him out like, normally people don't carry parachutes in planes this tiny. And if you look at the instrument gauge at this particular timestamp, you'll see it's already turned off. And it's, wow.
Yeah. So it's just like, oh, there's a GIF, and it's just like, oh.
We thought our audience was pedantic, but apparently aviation YouTube is a whole nother level.
Yeah. I mean, it almost seems like he could have landed safely if he was still aboard.
It doesn't look like it's going that fast. But, I mean, it is like a GoPro footage, so.
Yeah, Lord only knows. So, I don't know.
What a waste, if that's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
a waste of resources. Let me just crash a plane.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
I mean, to be fair, we'd never heard of this guy. Yeah. Or knew about aviation YouTube until this very moment.
Yeah. So, but again, publicity stunt, he'll probably be fine. Worst case scenario, he'll probably lose his pilot's license. So again, Probably fine.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets money being an influencer.
This is sort of a fun story from Gizmodo.
Social media bans of scientific misinformation aren't helpful, researchers say.
There are more effective ways to fight scientific misinformation than banning and removing content. Because, you start removing stuff, and then people do this, and it's like, what have you got to hide? So, I don't know.
It seems like, just allowing people to safely debunk it without getting demonetized would be a way.
But that's impossible. You can't even discuss things. You can't even... I don't know. It's fine. Speaking of all aboard the hype train...
Facebook and Instagram may help you create and sell NFTs. This article was kind of a nothing burger.
This article is absolutely nothing burger. It's also taken over Twitch. Twitch is... I'm really surprised because this article was written yesterday. So the chief security officer that I have a lot of respect for at Twitch is out. It's very sudden. Very weird. Very not a lot of commentary from that. And this is at the same time that Twitch is letting you have an NFT. That Twitter is letting you have an NFT. Did I say Twitch before? I meant Twitter.
Yeah, you said Twitter.
Twitter, sorry. The Twitter's chief security officer.
Okay.
The Twitter's chief security officer is leaving. This is after Jack Dorsey, has, of course,
they're
down,
really hemorrhaging
sudden
people.
Exit, kind of thing. On Twitter, you can now have an NFT avatar, and it will show your avatar in a hexagon instead of a circle. If you have a minted
custom
avatar.
SVG shape. That was some extra CSS on some poor intern.
Now, what's amazing is that if you right-click and save one of the Bored Ape Yacht Club images and then remint that yourself on another exchange and then connect that to Twitter, it also considers that an NFT.
They're trying so hard to make it a thing, and I don't understand the appeal. Maybe I'll look back. Will I look back on this in 5 years and be like, I don't know what I was thinking. NFTs are great, but
they're looking at that. They're in a boardroom somewhere inside of Twitter, and they're saying Eminem just paid $182,000 for a line drawing of an ape. How do we get in on that?
As someone who can draw things, I'm like, how do I get in on that?
Yeah, well, Facebook and Meta would like to help you.
I don't think anyone wants my drawings that badly. Store.level1text.com.
Yeah, you can get the drawings. You can subscribe at the higher tier and get whatever.
Yeah, that's true. You could do that. If you want it custom.
Speaking of things that leaked in the news, or that leaked as part of other things, the antitrust. You remember the antitrust lawsuit from 2020? People are only just now going through the unredacted evidence of that.
Zuckerberg and Pichai allegedly signed off on a legal Facebook-Google ad deal.
So this makes it look like there was some kind of an ad deal going on behind the scenes, where when you have an auction for an ad, instead of making you pay the highest price, they would say, "Oh, we'll just make you pay the second highest price," as a way of kind of getting rid of the, if you bid $1,000 and somebody else bids $10,000, then you would only pay $1,000 for it because that's the second highest. But this makes it seem like it was actually third tier, and so Google would pocket the difference.
Also, what is this photo?
It's it's a little nebulous. It's a little.
It has a threatening aura.
Yeah, so it's like they personally signed off on a secret advertising deal that allegedly gave Facebook special privileges on Google's ad platform. I don't know. We'll see. There will be more from this.
Yeah.
Don't worry. And speaking of things that I also didn't have on my bingo card for 2022.
Walmart is quietly preparing to enter the metaverse. Have you seen the video of this?
No.
There's I don't know if it's real or not, but I've seen it on Twitter. There's like a video of a VR shopping experience at Walmart. It is truly dystopian. You actually browse with a little cart and you can grab things off the fake virtual shelves.
Is it the retail version of the Meet the Pyro video from Valve?
No, it's gray and sad. It's a liminal space, but it's a liminal digital space. It doesn't feel like a place you're supposed to be. You just want to get out of it, which is weird because usually with shopping experiences, they want you to stay as long as possible and make impulse choices. They've not done a good job, at least in the demo I saw, of making it feel like a place I want to spend money.
Speaking of companies that haven't done a good job.
Yeah. PayPal faces lawsuit for freezing customer accounts and funds. This was 3 different people, 2 in California, 1 in Chicago.
They're trying to come up with enough people to make this into a class action suit. Because apparently sometimes PayPal will just take your money.
And not explain it, yeah.
PayPal gets everything that they deserve. They if all of these people get double their money back and 1 million people more, Facebook still will not have gotten out. Yeah.
Boiler Snake's been really gypped by.
Yeah. I mean, it's everybody that has dealt with PayPal. And it's like, is it because PayPal deals with the dregs of humanity? Or do they take advantage of the fact that they have sometimes dealt with the dregs of humanity in order to screw well-meaning people out of, their hard-earned cash? Probably a little column A, a little column B. But still, if they're going to act like a bank, they should be regulated like a bank. If they're going to act like a lender, they should be regulated like a lender. There are certain financial rules and controls, and they've been able to get away with without following the rules for a long time.
See also some cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, ain't it the truth? This is also fun, the whole runaway dollar money printer go burr. This is not great.
Netflix raises monthly subscription prices in U.S. and Canada.
I think you still got Netflix, right?
Well, I have Netflix, but I don't really have Netflix, if you know what I'm saying.
I can never get rid of Netflix. Mom watches it too much.
So we don't look at it that often.
It's just disappointing. Maybe I should build my own private media server that's just incredible and just be like, here, use that.
But you'll pick shows out and she'll not like them.
Yeah.
What kind of shows does she watch?
She really likes watching the English real estate shows.
Really?
Yeah, she likes to. She's just like that. This was like an overturned barrel out in the country, and it sold for £400,000. And she's just like, I don't. They literally
Does she watch HGTV like the American?
No,
she just likes the British ones.
Yeah, just the British ones.
Weird.
Yeah. So and it's like there was one house that was like an old ship, and it was like, it was a shipwrecked ship, and then they turned it up and built the house, and then they built the addition on it, and she's like, this is magical. It would be like living in some kind of fantasy land.
I think I know what show that is. Is it like the one where it's just unique houses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not really unique house. It reads like they're not unique. Like this is just a typical house in the countryside in England. But
there was a British show that was like weird houses. I can't remember the name of it, and it was popular for a while.
There was one where the people were like, they'll show 3 houses, and it's like they have to pick because that's the thing.
Yeah.
And it was like the bottom of a well, and then like a country manor, and then something else. And the family was like, "We love the bottom of the well. It's just so unique."
That's House Hunters. There's a version of that in the U.S. too.
She was like screaming at her TV, like, "What's wrong with you? Why would you want to live at the bottom of a well?"
The other big meme from House Hunters is like, "I collect butterflies, and I have a budget of $3 million for my first home." And it's like, what?
Yeah. It's a lot of those houses in the UK are like £600,000, and it's a shoebox, and it's just,
what are you paying for?
Who is buying this? Speaking of things, like, why are you buying this?
Some Roku smart TVs are now showing banner ads over live TV.
Yeah, it's like, would you like a sleep number bed on the live? It's like, no, just kill it with fire. At that point, just eject it from your household. And
see, I got my mom a Roku for Christmas. I'm hoping she's not having that, but
this is apparently like Roku TVs, like the built-in.
It's not the individual units.
Yeah, so it might be the TV provider doing it. LG has been insanely terrible about this. So LG is just unacceptable with some of their stuff.
My mom's really excited about the Roku because she had a Prime account, but she didn't know how to access all the movies and stuff on Prime. And now that she has the Roku, she's watching nonstop Hallmark movies.
Nice. This is something that I was really excited about this week.
Yeah. A good story. John Deere hit with class action lawsuit for alleged tractor repair monopoly.
So
is it even alleged? I feel like it's an open secret.
Somebody pointed out finally, basically, that's like, hey, these are basically motor vehicles. There are special rules that you have to follow with repairability to motor vehicles. Let's see what happens. So we'll see if this case is allowed to move forward. But the case makes a lot of good points, like John Deere protecting their stuff with DRM and making it difficult to fix intentionally, not providing documentation, not providing spare parts, actively working against some of the repair shops. There were some really, really just devious examples in in ways that small service shops have been blocked from doing repairs in what they filed. So I think they've got a pretty good case.
If you really wanted to reach, you could even say that's like a matter of national security, right? Because that's food supply.
Yeah, it's like you're interfering with our ability to fix our own stuff.
Yeah, don't mess with the farmers in this country.
Yeah, so anyway, there was some video card news last week. There were some video card happenings last week. Oh boy, some things happened. But the first story we have about that.
Sorry, Nvidia's AI-powered scaling makes old games look better without a huge performance hit.
This is deep learning dynamic super resolution. And it's added to the latest RTX cards. Yep. So 145 FPS native and 108 FPS with the DSR 4X and DLDSR 2.5X. And they cut off the frame rate. Why would you do that?
I was going to say open it up in another tab, but I imagine that's probably an image style on the website, right?
Yeah, it's I think we're screwed. Yeah.
Oh no, wow, it's cut off.
Yeah, the Verge
they just cut it off entirely.
They messed that one up.
Fire the intern who entered this into the content management system.
Yeah, presumably though. Yeah, pretty good stuff. And this is not necessarily having to know all that much about what's going on inside the game or the game engine. It's just the final rendered frame. So it is nice that we have multiple graphics cards companies competing to come up with the best algorithm and the best bang for the buck and the best product that you can actually buy. There may be some relief on the video card horizon in terms of being able to buy a video card for gaming because
Intel to unveil ultra-low voltage Bitcoin mining ASIC in February.
Yeah, so this is actually a second-generation product, and there's a company that Intel is partnered with that's going to buy at least 25% of the available stuff that Intel is producing. So we don't really have concrete details on how fast or how good these are going to be, but if they're very fast and Intel's making a lot of them, then it will probably depress the value of graphics cards for the purposes of mining, which I'm sure gamers will appreciate.
Certainly would be nice.
The prices still probably won't return to normal, or
because they can make money.
Yeah,
and people are used to paying it now
for years. So,
yeah.
Speaking of prices that are
absolutely insane, Apple AR headset could cost consumers over $2,000.
Listen, I was drinking the Steve Ballmer Kool-Aid when he said, "Oh, Apple is going to have a $700 phone, and we've got a subsidized $200 phone." What person in their right mind would buy an iPhone for $700 when you can get a flagship phone for $200? And then,
is this a real photo? I thought that they hadn't confirmed this yet.
This is not real.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Apple insiders, yeah, they just put an Apple logo on that.
It looks like you're like a Cyclops.
There's literally nothing else to this story.
There's also no nose bridge on that mock-up.
I would even go so far as to say that Apple Insider was paid to run this story just so the executives at Apple could be like, well, let's see how much negative back. Oh, 2,000? Let's go 3,500.
Let's gauge interest, and then we'll see. I didn't read the comments on that article. Were people like, yeah, I'd pay that?
Yeah. Apple it's like the people, there will be people who will buy it.
I don't know. They seem a little critical, but I'm sure people who are really Apple fans will probably buy it regardless.
Well, Apple wouldn't be charging $3,500 for it if it wasn't worth $3,500.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't sound like them at all. Or any company, really.
Oh, who would turn away free money? That's just crazy. Oh, wait, what is this?
Mozilla stops accepting cryptocurrency. Wikipedia may be next. Are dominoes falling?
There was a fairly critical story a couple of weeks ago about how Mozilla was accepting cryptocurrency, but that's not new. That's been the case for a long time. But it got enough negative press that, hey, they said, let's put a pause on that.
Well, it's Friday while we're recording this, and right before we started, I looked at Twitter, and Twitter trending, it was Bitcoin crash again. So I think, what was it, 38K, I think is what it was at time of recording. It may be sprung back up by now. I don't know.
38 from 60 to 38. That's quite a swing.
Yeah.
Well, we alluded to this in the government section, but now here it is finally.
Major record labels sue YouTube DL's hosting provider.
So the hosting provider doesn't actually host or provide YouTube DL. This is literally just YouTube DL's public webpage that says this is what the tool does. This is how it works. A lot of the people here, this is in Germany, and the German people that are involved here, some of them point out that, wait a minute, all computers and storage media in Germany has a tax on it for media piracy. Home taping and home recording, non-commercial recording uses are allowed in Germany because everybody in Germany pays a surcharge, a tax on recordable media that goes to the recording industry. Yeah, and so this is saying, oh, YouTube DL circumvents YouTube's rolling cipher technology. This might sound familiar. They tried it here in the U.S. GitHub put up $1 million of legal defense money to fight it on GitHub. The project was reinstated on GitHub. They tried the facilitating piracy argument here in the U.S. This is intellectually dishonest of the recording industry for a lot of reasons. Two, it's very sort of greedy and antithetical to a functioning society. Like, you can't own culture. This is really what that's tantamount to. I don't believe that YouTube DL is being used to facilitate mass widespread piracy. I just don't believe it. You could use it for some kinds of piracy, but for things like YouTube originals that are paid.
We have a story about that later.
And YouTube Red, and there's a different protection mechanism that's in play. And so really the recording industry doesn't want people to be able to save things off of YouTube. I've got some news for you. You've been able to tape things off the radio. They're really
That's what I used to do to make mixtapes as a kid. Like, I would put a tape thing in there and put my favorite song on the radio would come on and you record it really quick.
They're trying really hard to stuff that genie back in the bottle to the point that I really think that it should be like the corporate death penalty at this point, because they've just exhausted everybody. They're just relentless. They're annoying you to wear you down to the point where it's like, all right, I guess maybe I could kind of see your argument. But it's actually idiocy, and worse, it's locking up parts of your individual culture where you can't physically make a mixtape anymore. Like, part of the joy of the human experience is sharing it. It's like, I found this thing. Check out this thing that I found. It is really amazing. Not, some sort of hardened criminal mass conspiracy. I guarantee you that the executives that are involved in this have a much more corrupt ethical compass than your average person. I mean, that goes without saying, don't you think?
Yeah. And the thing that's kind of sad about it is sometimes stuff just gets removed from YouTube. Sometimes the creator's like, oh, I don't want it up anymore, but maybe you just want a copy for yourself to enjoy.
What kind of world is it that people that are so ethically corrupt that they can weaponize your own feeling of wanting to act ethically? It's like, oh, it's not ethical to be able to make copies of stuff from YouTube. They would weaponize that feeling in you to go against your own best interest to support this kind of a move. I really hope that the German courts don't side with the recording industry. It is hideously evil. Because
I think they probably will. Doesn't Germany kind of have a history of that? I might be wrong, but
it's not great. The whole YouTube originals thing, they're out.
Speaking of that, YouTube will stop making most original shows. Did anyone watch these?
No. The one Cobra Kai, this Karate Kid story thing, Netflix acquired it. That started on YouTube.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think that was the nail in the coffin. People at YouTube were like, let's come up with something that's really amazing and original. And I watched a couple episodes of it. It's not my show, but there are a lot of people that like it. And I get that it's like, this is really good because it's, what happens when Danielson grows up and is kind of an ass. It's because it's like, he won. But it's like, how is it in daily life? Like, how does he
after that?
And then the Cobra Kai guy is like, how does that work out? So it's a fun premise for a show, I suppose. But anyway, YouTube came up with that. The YouTube executives, the YouTube originals thing, like, they came up with that, and it is actually a really successful show. So I think the final nail was when that show was doing so well on Netflix and did so poorly on YouTube Red that they had to look at that and say, all right, we're out.
Most of the stuff that I've seen on the YouTube originals is always like, Instagram influencer kind of types, and it's like our daily life in our giant pool house with 20 other YouTubers, and I don't really understand the appeal.
I don't think anybody wants that. It's like, no.
Well, it already exists. You don't have to pay for it either. It's all over YouTube.
The only reason that we have the audience that we do is because I think most of our audience feels like they connect with us. And so when they're sitting around watching the news, it's like we're all sitting around a table talking about and mocking the things that are going on.
Yeah.
It's a much more personal connection than, YouTube.
Here I am live from my mansion.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess some people like that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there is a market for it, but whatever reason, people do not like it when you have to pay for it.
Yeah. And Google is also working on their own AR thing.
Oh, I should have put those together. I missed that. I went by company, not by headline.
It's
Google is building an AR headset.
Yeah, Project Iris. So, the Google Glass wasn't enough. It's like, we need to go deeper. Okay.
Again, it's not real yet, so.
Also,
Google hires PayPal veteran as part of crypto push.
Yeah, Arnold Goldberg to run its payments division comes after Google previously abandoned pushing the banking, according to Bloomberg. So, I would guess that Google is playing the long game here, and they're imagining a future where ad tech isn't their major source of revenue. And if that's the case, micropayments on some sort of crypto thing is probably how that's going to work.
Pay 5 bits to access this article.
Yeah,
that's what we're going toward.
And actually, look, if the internet were fast and ad-free and, mainly just fast and ad-free, like when we put the news together, the level of jank that we endure from major websites is crazy. And
half the time when you see like these weird little tiny news sites, it's like, why did they pick that one? It's usually a paywall alternative.
Yeah, if it was something like, would you, if I'm spending less than, $2 or $3 a day on our browsing, or if it cost, $3 to put an episode of the news together versus dealing with that.
Yeah.
I would pay the $3.
I think, though, the part of me is just like, that is so dystopian that we're just being nickeled to dime to death on so many subscription fees. I hate it. It actually makes me not want to participate in any of it. I don't know that feeling is strong enough for most consumers, though. I think most people are just like, yeah, whatever, I'll do another subscription service.
Yeah, there was one of those, it might have been a Dark Mirror episode or something on Netflix, but they had one of those dystopian sci-fi shows, and when the characters got low on money, they would agree to have an ad buddy accompany them. And so it's like, I can't afford lunch, and so you would have an ad buddy go to lunch with you, and it seemed to be like an Uber Eats kind of a thing, except instead of the person delivering the food, they would just come to you with a pitch and say, do you know about these products, and how does this, and how does that work, and blah blah blah, and then they would pay for your lunch or pay for your bus ticket or whatever.
That's how you're talking about, like, the gatekeeping of culture. I feel that way about most cultural output we have now. It's mostly just a product.
That's prophetic. That's going to happen.
And that's what it feels like. This is a nerdy thing. We didn't include this as a story, but like Amazon's doing a Lord of the Rings show, and they're adapting a really interesting time period of Tolkien's lore. And I know it's going to be bad. It's just going to be a product, and it's going to lose the whole heart of the original, and that's really disappointing to me.
It's like, what is it? Galadriel? Is that I say that right?
Yeah, Galadriel.
Her morning routine begins with Amazon Basics face wash.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be, something like that. Or like, there's been some leaks. I don't know how true they are yet, but some of the stuff that they've written, it's like, this is just, you just wiped your ass with his books.
Speaking of that,
Amazon heads to the mall with prototype clothing store.
Because of course, Amazon is looking at clothing stores and they're saying, listen, we've got a clothing printer in the back, like our book printer. We can print all this stuff for pennies on the dollar. Why don't we just, rent some space in an abandoned mall for $5 a month and just see how it goes?
Our abandoned mall is too expensive for most local businesses, but Amazon won't be.
Yeah, the store, which will sell women's and men's clothing as well as shoes and other accessories, will open at Americana at Brand, a mall in Glendale, California. So they're spending some money on this particular mall.
I wonder if it's a sad mall, like the dying mall.
Yeah, I'm sure that it is. it would almost have. Well, I mean, it's California though. Maybe not.
I saw an argument that like the original Gothic aesthetic was about like decaying opulence, and that's why old Victorian houses were a big part of that aesthetic. And now the new Gothic is going to be the old 80s shopping mall, decaying opulence. So I was like, oh, that is kind of weird, isn't it?
Speaking of decaying opulence,
Yeah.
what an amazing lead-in.
Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard in $68.7 billion video game mega deal. The FTC wants to know your location.
Bobby Kotick is being given an amazing golden parachute. He was the source of some controversy.
Did they confirm he's leaving? It kind of sounded like he was going to, but I didn't see anything that confirmed it yet.
Gosh, they've really made it sound like he's out, but yeah, they haven't actually said.
They've not said he's gone.
He's for sure 100% gone.
The tweet I saw from him was like, "Oh, I'll be around to like handle the changeover," but that kind of makes it sound like he won't be there.
You'll always
past
feel my breath on your neck.
that. Probably literally. Whoa. Probably good news for Blizzard, but poor news for the consumer because now Microsoft owns like every massive video game franchise you can think of.
They own all the crafts now. I think Warcraft
and
Minecraft and Starcraft, and so.
My husband sent me an add-on for WoW that was Clippy, reminding you to check your mana.
I think the episode for today's news is probably going to be nobody expects the Microsoft acquisition.
Oh, that is a good title. We'll forget that though. By Monday, we'll forget when we do the titles.
I wish I could make the sound. Hopefully, making the sound doesn't get us,
Demonetized.
The Spanish Inquisition sound. But that's it. All right. For Friday, we've got a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, it's mostly nonsense. Oops, all nonsense. We will see you guys then. Bye.